Okay, today we're going to go over what tuning is and the various softwares that people use. We're going to just go over Turbo LS stuff today. So right off the bat, this is HP Tuners. The operating system has already been applied. It is a 2-bar. So pretty much tuning is just target air fuel and a target timing for whatever you're trying to do. So you want to put as much timing in the motor and keep it as lean as possible to get or rich as possible to get your target power you're looking for. So everybody thinks it's dark arts or something. Anyways, going in, the main VE table is what you're going to be working on if you're doing a turbo engine. This is 210 kPa, so it's about 15 pounds. This is a 2-bar system. And then your spark tables. So HP Tuners has a low and a high octane table, and those are both right here. Usually when you're tuning a car, depending on who the tuner is, they will make the high and the low octane exactly the same. And then, so you're not jumping around back and forth. Really, all that happens, your car runs off the high octane all the time until it has knock. And if it has knock, it will go to the low octane. So some people like to, take 5 degrees out or whatever through the areas, the load areas, and keep some difference in them. There's nothing wrong with that, but if you're a pretty good tuner and you got everything down, then you should be able to copy and paste both of them together. Next thing, you have these base corrections: flex fuel, intake air temp, your coolant temp, catalyst. These will affect these tables here. So from the factory, I think these are usually like 8 degrees here or something like that. And I think this probably stays the same, but at wide open throttle, depending on what cylinder air mass you're running, that's here on the left-hand side. You need to log this. Most NA cars run like 60 to 68 through here at wide open throttle. But every car is a little different, so you just have to go out and log it. But anyways, this is adding timing to this table. So if you're down here, we'll say we're at 88, so that's 18 degrees of timing. And then we come back into the flex fuel. It could be adding, anywhere from 4 to 3 degrees more of timing. So same thing here, intake air temp. Usually this doesn't. Usually like here, it starts to pull timing. This has been modified, so anything 130, it's going to start pulling timing. Engine coolant temp, usually down here, it's like 5 or 6 degrees when it's cold, and then when it gets warmed up, it's back to 0, which is usually fine. And then you have your catalyst, and you just want to zero that out. But this stuff at the top, like I was saying, you can zero this table out. That way, you're not adding more timing to this table. But if you know what you're doing, you can use this table with flex fuel, if you run an E85, obviously. And this is applied. This is an E85 vehicle. So moving on, going back to fuel, power and rich, you have a delay. Usually this is set at 5,000, and I think for 2 seconds factory. And then this is some kind of crazy number here, but 1.2 is equal to 12.2 air fuel. What that means is it's adding it to the air fuel table. So it's adding it actually to this table to give you more fuel. And that happens when you're over 65% throttle TPS. So, and then you have a boost enrichment. So this is just regular, and then anything over 105 uses this map to 210. If you want to know what these numbers mean, you just get the calculator, go to tools, go to calculator, minimize it, type 14.7, and then divide it by whatever number's in here. So 1.25 equals 11.7 air fuel. Now, just because that's what these numbers say, it does not mean that that's going to, it's going to be 11.7 every time. If you put more fuel here, then you don't have to actually put more fuel there in the other table. Some people actually turn that other stuff off and just run this table. And then some people keep these numbers really low and then keep that other number high. There's a lot of ways to skin a cat. There's different tuners out there. Anyways, moving on. If you're doing a turbo engine and you just want to run speed density, you have to set this to 8,000. You have to go into here and go into your airflow and set this to 0. And then what you want to do is come into here and 1, 2, and 3, the mass airflow, unclick them and put them on first mill of air. That will put you in field math mode. So when you do that, you will just be running off the MAF sensor. Next up is just your engine diag stuff. This is all your codes that are in the ECU. Misfire, some people like to just set this high so it doesn't bother anything if you got a cam or something. Trans, we don't really have to go over much on the trans. There's a software online called BlueCat. You can download it, and it's really good. It'll help you set up all these tables and get your car to shift nice. Next is the fuel system. This kind of just tells you how big of a tank you have. The system has your security, so you can go to none or just leave it alone. I usually just leave this alone no matter what, unless it's a different ECU. Obviously, you have to turn it off, but if it's in the same vehicle, just to leave it alone. If it's a PL1, I haven't really have any issues, but if it's a P59, I've had some problems turning it off. And then your fans, AC, and then your speedo. So if you want to change your gear ratio or your tire size, you do it in here. You'd actually go to your tire wizard here, and then you just type in how big the tire is and what kind of gear ratio. And then your limiter for how fast the vehicle goes is here. So you'd want to set those something high if you want to go a little faster than 98 miles an hour. Okay, moving on, we're going to go straight to, I was going to do a course on EFI Live, but I don't know. It's pretty much the same thing, It's a little bit different, but it's set up, the same. A lot of people that are tuning these cars are using HP tuners. A lot of people aren't using EFI Live anyways because it's more expensive than HP tuners. So why use it, if you can get HP tuners for cheaper and it does more vehicles and everything. So moving on, we're going to go straight to Megasquirt, I think, and just kind of show you, how this is set up. It's set up the same. You have your fuel, you have your ignition system, your basic load settings. Here's your rev limiter. I didn't actually go into the rev limiter in HP tuners. I can show you where that's at real quick. We go into engine. It's under DIVCO right here. RPM limits, cutoff, resume, gear based. Anyways, I mean, these are harder because there's a lot more tables going on, and it seems like you have to trick the computer. Something I didn't talk about is this cylindergrams. It's not on here, it's in the Spark table, but you definitely want to log the cylindergrams, because if you go more than 1.25, you're going to jump off the map. And when you jump off the map, what kind of timing you're running. If you're trying to pull timing out like you should, in peak torque and then bring it back in, where are you going to know where you're at? So, okay, moving on. We're going back to Megasquirt. We're going to go to the fuel system. We're just going to look at this real quick. So this is 14 air fuel, 12.5, 12, 11, and then this is your KPA on the side. So anything over 100 is naturally aspirated. Anything over that is boost. So, it's just riching the fuel up. 14.7 is lambda, which is 1. Anything higher than that is rich. So the lower the number, the more rich the fuel is. Okay, so moving on. This is the VE table, so this is the same table we were looking at before. There's that 100 number again, KPA. That is naturally aspirated. Anything over that is boost, and the numbers are in a different way than HP tuners, but it's the same thing. The nice thing about this software and Holley and others is when you start a vehicle up, you can actually sit here and tune it and get the air fuel mixture right, as the vehicle's running. With HP tuners or EFI Live, you have to constantly shut the vehicle on and off and flash the file, which can be a real pain in the butt if it's got a lot of modifications, big cam, so on and so forth. This is the ignition table, so this is 30 degrees, that's 40 degrees, blah blah blah, and then wherever 100's at, we'll say this is pretty close to 100. That's wide open throttle on NA. Anything over that is boost, and it's lowering it. So same concept. This ain't magic art. So startup idle. This is just your idle control. Stepper valve, stepper motor. Closed loop. Acceleration enrichment, and then this one has a lot more. Standalones have a lot more nicer boost features on them. So if you accidentally go over the boost, you have what you call over boost protection, in a lot of this. So this will, right now it's set for 15 pounds of boost. So if you go out and drive your vehicle and for some reason, maybe you're only trying to call for 5 pounds or something, it goes and hits 10 pounds, while it's going to pull the spark. So it's just going to probably pop and then not have any power. So that's, a lot nicer with this kind of setup. You can run dome control on this, and, there's a lot of cool things you can do. Turbo anti-lag, blow flames if you want, but as it says right there, it's not really great for the engine, if you're going to go out and blow flames. The turbo too, getting that thing so hot with the your turbine, you're cooking the back of your wheel off, so you're going to start losing boost and power eventually. VVT settings, obviously this doesn't have any. Table of choice, advanced engine, so your speed and gear stuff, launch control. There's just a lot cooler things, when you pay for it. I don't know what a Megasquirt Gold box is going for nowadays. There's a lot more stuff in this than there is in the Holley. You can do a lot of crap. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I'm just saying that the entry level stuff, like the Terminator X stuff, the Dominator, probably is, comparable to this. It seems like this is fine. It works fine for what it is. But it's like I said, it's the same crap. What you do in HP tuners. You're doing the same things. You're just fighting more tables in HP tuners, and you got to kind of trick the computer to get it to do what you want to do. So moving on, we're going to go straight into Holley. I already have a table open. I just opened it. It's a 24X turbo, 6 liter. And you can tell that this is the fuel, this is your sensors, this is your ECU stuff. Idle, spark, your inputs, and then your boost, and then your transmission stuff. And then this is your logger over here. So right off the bat, we're just going to start with fuel. Again, this is your VE table. And when you use a standalone system, you can start the vehicle up, and there'll be a little dot that kind of moves around here. And you can change these numbers live. And, tune the vehicle. It's just a lot easier, put it that way. Moving on, that's just the graph. The learn table is set to 0 right now. And then your target air fuel again. 14.7 is emission standards. Anything below that is rich. And this is boost. This is 30 pounds of boost. This is 15 pounds. So Anything above that's rich. Acceleration enrichment. This is kind of helps as TPS goes up, it just kind of adds a little bit of fuel. Temperature enrichment. So when it's cold, it's going to add some fuel, and when it warms up, it's going to level off. Startup enrichment. When it's colder, it's going to add fuel. When it's warmer, it's going to level off. Fuel control. This is turned off right now. This is not. What this does is when you let off the gas, it's pretty much shutting the injectors off when you coast down a hill. You do not want to run this on a turbo car because you'll blow the engine up, because it'll run 22 air fuel as you let off the gas and blow the engine up. So don't turn that on if you have a turbo engine. Okay, moving on. Map sensor. This is a Holley. You can pick from multiples. Coolant temp sensor. Map sensor. Oil pressure, fuel pressure, so on. Moving on. Engine configuration. This is a ECU or Terminator X, and then a Terminator X Max. Max runs the transmission, and Diagnostic 1. I think most people use Diagnostic 1. Engine parameters. Engine, 8 cylinders. 6.0 is equal to 364 cubic inches. Fuel is gasoline, obviously E85, and if you were going to run methanol or something like that, you'd go to advanced. Stowage is 14.7, which actually isn't stowage anymore. Stowage is now 14 because all the gas stations carry 10 to 15% of gasoline or ethanol in the gasoline, and then your load. So this is VE based. Your injection is multi-port. Your fuel pump prime, so when you turn the key on, it'll run. The pump will run for 5 seconds, and then 43 psi. That's your base pressure. Your wideband that you're using, injector angle is usually at 90 with a V8. And then these are the injectors that they're running. There's a lot of different injectors on here, switch from, choose from, whatever you want to call it. You can play around with the minimum injector opening time, I'm sure, sequential. Probably, going to be set up when you just click this. Probably going to still have to set this to whatever this is, but should be pretty easy. Ignition type, this is a 24X reluctor wheel, GM. Knock sensors if you're running them, the firing order, and then your global timing, -45, negative or positive 60 degrees. There's no reason you'll ever go over 60, and really never you'll go over -45. But for whatever reason, they have that set like that. So this is your TPS scaler, 0 to 100. That's probably set up like that from the factory. Basic IO, this is just your fan, your fuel pumps, your air conditioning, and all that crap. And then this is your closed loop learn. 50 is way too much. When you start, really tuning a car in, you should be in the 5 or 10 range down here. You can leave these if you're scared. You could put these at 20 or something. If the car is if you're a little worried about the injectors or something weird, and but realistically, you should only be doing 10% or something. Variable cam timing. This isn't set up for that. Individual cylinders. This is kind of cool here because if you flow your injectors on a flow bench and any of them flow more or less than another one, you can come in here and add or subtract fuel from that injector, and then look at your plug to make sure you got your stuff right. System inputs, system outputs, your grounds, AC, their driver A, injector drivers, all the injector driver stuff. That's what's nice about a base file. If you can change the stuff, but base files are pretty much ready to go out of the box. Besides, you're gonna have to change your air fuel and whatever timing. So this is your timing table. This is your base at idle, and then you're gonna move up at wide open throttle. 30 degrees or 30 pounds of boost is 11 degrees. This is just a map of it. Cranking parameters, 15 degrees when it's cranking. Rev limiter is set to 68, spark only. Launch retard. coolant temp, these are shut off, they're zeroed out. And then your IO, your inputs for all your stuff, and then your boost setup. So Holley's kind of nice because obviously you can do dome control, and they have their Holley sensors to do the dome control. Safety setup, so 35 psi boost for 1 second, domes 100%, ignore. These are all just safety setups. And then your dome control here, how much dome you want, boost versus time. This is zeroed out, not using that. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. And then you got your transmission for 485. And they've added now the 6L80 and 6L90 transmissions, which is pretty nice. And this is, depending on what kind of tire size and rear end gear ratio and everything, you're gonna have to play with this to get that to work right. Line pressure should be okay. TCC parameters, only 4th gear, depending on what you're doing with it, what kind of converter you have. And then you have your gauge. So when you fire the car up, you'll have all this stuff. And then when you're logging, you'll use this. So that's pretty much it for the Holley stuff and the Megasquirt and HP tuners. I hope this helps somebody out. Like I said, tuning's not magic. It's just timing and fuel. And, knowing where to put fuel at and, how much boost and this and that. Rule of thumb is 15 pounds, 15 degrees ignition on gasoline. That's been the rule of thumb for a long time. And that's probably, I've probably seen people run more than that. But if you're on gasoline and you're pushing the limits on 15 pounds without water injection or anything like that, then you can have some problems. On E85, the sky's the limit. Like, you got to look at the plugs, look at the air fuel, but usually, a safe on E85 would be 15 pounds and probably 18 degrees, 20 degrees, you're going to be fine. I probably wouldn't shoot for, 20 degrees right off the bat, obviously. But, like I said, every tuner is different, and you look at the plugs. Once you can't just start pulling plugs out and looking at them, you got to get that fuel down where you kind of want it at, and then start pulling plugs and then adding ignition and then taking it out. You're going to probably go through a lot of spark plugs. But yeah, hope this helps people out, and that's it for the video. Thanks.